On this episode of Armitage Garage, we're going to change out some bushings on the TJ. So this Jeep has been suffering from what I would call like a wandering steering problem, where I was always adjusting the steering wheel just to go straight down the road. Tried different things, checked the alignment. The alignment was all fine. And then also I noticed going off-road, when you would hit an obstacle or go through a little bit of a dip or hit a bump or something, it almost felt like the back end was would slide out in front of you. If you hit an obstacle or a bump and with your front end, you'd almost feel the front of the Jeep slide sideways. It was a really, really odd feeling. And so that led me to believe that my track bar bushings were done. And the track bar is this bar right here. It bolts onto the frame, the axle, and it goes up, comes up along here and connects up to your frame. And what this track bar does, for those of you that don't know, it keeps your axle center underneath your Jeep. So it keeps it from going side to side. It keeps it fairly centered. And when your suspension travels, it makes your suspension or your axle move in an arc type thing like that. And so when these bushings go, it can lead to death wobble, but they can also lead to like a wandering steering problem, as I mentioned before. So I've already changed the bushings on the front end here. You can kind of see this red. That's the brand new bushing by Energy Suspensions. And the front end is a tie rod end type connection, and so it didn't need a new bushing. I just gave it lots of grease. And I'm happy to report that these new bushings, the new bushing in the front end, has made the Jeep drive extremely well. And so it made such a difference, I'm also going to change the bushings on the rear track bar, and that's what I'm going to show you today. So I've already pulled the rear track bar out of the TJ. There was 2 bolts and the track bar came right out. On the axle side, there is a Torx bolt. So just FYI for those of you that don't have it, it takes a T55 size. Also on the frame side then, there was just a standard hex bolt. So upon further inspection, we can see that the bushings are indeed in need of replacement. You can see the rubber has deteriorated quite badly. So the new bushings from Energy Suspension are quite easy to install. They are polyurethane type material rather than a rubber. They should firm up the suspension quite a lot from these old deteriorated rubber ones. So there's some metal sleeves, and some bushings, so some for both ends, and it also comes with some grease as well. First thing we need to do is press out the old bushings. Okay, and you can see they only come out one way, so just be cautious of that. Notice that there's a bit of a lip on this side. That means the bushing has to come out this way. There's no way that the bushing is going to push in that way. I have a shop press here, which makes this job quite easy. If you don't have a shop press, then you could probably use some sort of a ball joint press. goes. Now just repeat on the other end. Next I'm going to get rid of all the grease and grime that's inside the track bar link eyes. So the instructions that came with the bushings are pretty self-explanatory. Just says to put grease on things. So we're gonna put grease on the inside of the track bar ends. We're also going to put grease on all the bushing surfaces that contact metal. So that'll be the inside and the outside. And then we're also going to grease the outer diameter of the sleeve. Not sure why, but sometimes I was able to get some of the front ones in by hand. Oh, there we go. If not, might be able to just use a vise. Yeah, there we go. Good stuff. That's fighting me a little bit. There we go. Now just repeat on the other end. So now for the install, make sure that the bent end kind of goes to the frame mount. That way that little bend, I think, is for clearing the exhaust. So make sure that goes above the exhaust. Okay. And then once it's up in kind of in general place and resting on the exhaust, you can slide it into the frame, or sorry, the axle side mount. very tight fit. So, the axle side has a flag nut, so you just have to really get it started and then it takes care of itself. You don't need to get a wrench in the backside, which is kind of convenient. I'm not going to torque it to spec at this point in time. That should only be done when the Jeep is on the ground or at ride height. Again, all I'm going to do is just kind of snug this up so that it's in place. I am not going to torque it. There. Now the other side of the track bar is going to be extremely hard to get into the frame side mount with the Jeep up in the air. But it makes a very, very easy job when the vehicle's at ride height. So this Jeep has a 2-inch lift, means the stock track bar doesn't keep the axle exactly centered, and at ride height this bolt does not want to go in. So what I'm doing is I'm getting under here underneath my creeper, and with my leg and my arm I'm pulling down on the back bumper to compress the suspension a little bit, and I got it. Now I'm going to jack up the vehicle so I can at least have easy access to the bolt and get this nut started. Okay, now that it's up in the air, I have easy access to the nut. The bolt takes a 15 and the nut seems to like an 18 mil wrench. Again, I'm only snugging it up. All the torquing to spec will happen when the vehicle is at ride height. And that's pretty much it. Lower the vehicle down to ride height, torque both the axle side and frame side of the track bar bracket to 74 foot-pounds, and then enjoy the brand new feel of your old TJ for a fraction of the price of a brand new track bar. So thanks for watching and tune in next time.